the Bears have a lot of big decisions here coming up on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, I think priority one in the offseason will be the pass rush, but I wouldn't overlook the decisions that they have to make from a secondary standpoint. And it's getting kind of tricky now when you consider these injuries that they've sustained and how things are going to play out. And, it's it's an offseason issue for sure, but I think that I wouldn't be opposed to if I heard news drop tomorrow that Ryan Poles has extended a certain person right here in December before we even get to the offseason. And I think there's one person on this team in particular that deserves that, and that's Kevin Byard. And Kevin Byard has been the consummate pro for this team, a leader. He's been at the top of the league in interceptions, not just this year, but since he's come into the league. And who are your options, if you've got all these defensive line issues that you have to address in the offseason and how you're going to look at the safety position, whether it's through free agency or in the draft? Personally, I want to keep the continuity that we have going on here in Chicago. So we made a list of pending free agents and if for the Bears secondary and my priority list of, and Carm will give his list as well, of where I think the priorities kind of need to lie. And so for me, Kevin Byard is priority one. I understand his age, but I want to keep this continuity on the backside of this defense. And I think he's been somebody that you can depend on. And I think it's a fairly easy decision, in my opinion, to bring him back. I put CJ Gardner-Johnson at 2 ahead of the other 2 free agents because now we're in a position where unfortunately, a lot like Jaquan Brisker at times, and I feel for these guys, they're not trying to get hurt, but how much can you depend on a guy when he has shown year after year that he can't play the full schedule? Brisker's started to do that here this year, and hey, that's great. He's got to finish the season out, but Kyler is kind of running into that same question mark of can you depend on him to play for a full season? And the fact that they were able to bring in CJ Gardner-Johnson was godsend for this team. They started out 5-0 as soon as he came to this team, and he made an immediate impact. So I think he is somebody that they should prioritize in bringing back in free agency this offseason. And then you get to Nahson Wright, who's been an amazing story for this team. I think, unfortunately, he will get priced out of what would be a reasonable cost to bring somebody back in the position that he is. You still have Tyrique Stevenson, who will be, I believe, on his final year of his deal. And I would almost consider extending Tyrique Stevenson on a team-friendly deal, if you could get that, versus having to back up the truck for Nahson Wright based off the small sample size of this outstanding year that Nahshon has had. And then Jaquan Brisker is kind of last on my list. Not saying he's expendable, but I think he is, I think you could upgrade at that position. So just in terms of where they've got to, divulge their money, I just think that that's kind of how my list kind of goes.
Right. Perhaps there's no wrong answer to how you're going to order these guys, but I do think you're wrong, extremely wrong about putting C.J. Gardner-Johnson above Nahson Wright, Nahson Wright has been a godsend for this team. They would not. Nahson Wright is the youngest. He's 27. Byard's 32. What do your corners look like? I don't know what you have in Jalen Johnson. The guy had core muscle surgery. Is Jalen going to be okay going into next year? He doesn't look like himself right now. Tyrique has been in and out of the lineup, and I love Tyrique, but Tyrique has been up and down. And then you got Kyler. I have no idea if he's going to have a great offseason and find out how to get healthy. So to me, Nahson Wright, who A, is a phenomenal guy in that locker room, B, has been fantastic on the field, C, seems like Al Harris has unlocked something in a potential Pro Bowl player here in Nahson Wright, the way he's been playing this year. So I don't know where the pricing will go. Obviously, there is a point where you can't keep him. But to me, that's the guy that you really have got to look hard and strong at it. Like, how do we make him a part of this going forward? Byard's a huge piece too, though. I'm not gonna diminish what's going on there. You'd have a leadership void and you'd have a safety void. You might have, because I don't think you're bringing Jaquan Brisker back, but I certainly put him ahead of CJ Gardner-Johnson. Jaquan Brisker is the heartbeat of that team defensively with his energy. So if I can get Jaquan on a relatively team-friendly deal and just, take the risk that he'll be able to stay on the field with all his, with the concussion issues that he's had, I would do that if I were the Bears, if I can do some level of a 2-year deal that's reasonable. But if somebody wants to come in and pay Brisker a ton of dough, well, then I think you got to move on from him because it's just too high of a risk. And then CJ, who's had a great impact, I've enjoyed him, but I think he's a clear number 4 on this list as far as who's important coming back. I
hear you, and I'm not taking anything away from all the things that you mentioned of what makes Nahshon Wright great, but I think those are the reasons that are going to be hard to bring him back because other teams are also going to see this, and now you have to put a price tag on it, and you've already paid Jalen Johnson. You say you don't know what you have in Jalen.
I don't.
That's beside the point. They've paid him. He's going to be your cornerback next year. They've already paid Kyler Gordon. Whether he can stay healthy or not, we hope, but he's going to be on your roster next year. And Tyreek Stevenson's in the final year of his deal. Whether they decide to do something with that contract or not, he's also going to be on your roster. So
are you okay? So you're saying that you'd way rather pay Tyreek than pay Nahshon Wright?
For what the money, my anticipation
you
of
think
what
Nahshon Wright's going to get paid way more than Tyreek
at this point, yes, because of the year he's having.
I mean, I don't know.
You were the one that said he's
Tyreek
second in Pro Bowl votes. I mean, no, Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything.
Who cares about that? That's fan voting, and that doesn't matter at all.
Who cares about it? Then why'd you say it to me earlier?
I didn't.
I think that was me.
Oh, you said it?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay, somebody said it to me.
I didn't say it to you.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying he's being acknowledged as one of the top stories in the league. And if you look at the Cowboys,
I mean, you could be right. I'm not saying you could be right, but Tyreek is.
There's a danger in paying a corner like Nahshon Wright, who's having an unbelievable season, but it's an outlier to what he's shown in the league. And if you were able to get him for a reasonable deal, then I'd be all in. But if you're saying you're going to pay him like he's one of the top corners in the league based off of 1 year. Like that.
Dude, he had 3 starts in his first 4 years. He didn't get to play.
I understand. That's why this is an outlier to what we've seen from him so far.
Yeah, but there's a lot of players that didn't get on the field because there's been people in front of them, and when they get their opportunity, they shine and they roll. That is Al Harris's career. He did not play early on, and then he became a dynamo for the Packers. What are you?
I'm just saying that
I don't see a player.
You're not going to put me in a corner where I'm now going to denigrate what Nahshon Wright's doing. All I'm saying is there's a risk to investing heavily that's what he's going to do going forward.
Right, but
especially when you consider how much they've invested already at the cornerback position. Whereas a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson, you're not going to have a higher capital investment, and he's somebody that can play the safety position. He can play your nickel corner. You can put him outside. You're paying Nahshon Wright. You're paying him because he's going to be paid as a top line corner, outside corner. That's the only spot he's playing in this league.
Well, we're doing a lot of hypotheticals on what they're going to get. I mean, I have to see the money, but I would be surprised if somebody comes in and pays Nahshon Wright over the top money. That would be. I mean, I think he's going to get paid, but I don't think he's going to get paid. Like he's a top corner in the league. That'd be crazy. And if you're judging like what somebody would pay Tyreek, who's more physical than Nahshon Wright,
Tyreek was trending towards a big payday to start this
year,
but then he got hurt. So I think that affects what would be a reasonable extension for him.
He's had a weird up and down season where he was allowing a perfect passer rating at the start, and then all of a sudden he looked like I know we don't like the Pro Bowl word here, but like he looked like a Pro Bowl corner for a little bit there. But this entire discussion, why I brought it to the table, is how there's 4 players I put on the list here, and we could order them any single way, and we could argue for or against any one of those players and their deals. Kevin Byard with the age, Nahshon Wright with just too small of a sample size. Ryan Poles has a very difficult decision, several difficult decisions to make in this offseason. And these could be
never mind the fact that they have to fix the
altering.
entire D line,
Right.
with all of this hanging over their head.
Right.
It's interesting. And as somebody's a little wasted in the chat says corners ain't cheap. If then we turned it to what the market for corners is in this league, you saw what Kyler Gordon got paid as a nickel corner. They're changing the way they're paying nickels. So it's definitely something they have to consider.